In ancient Persia, a young Jewish woman named Esther lived with her cousin Mordecai, who had raised her after her parents died. They lived in Shushan, the bustling capital city. King Ahasuerus, ruler of Persia, sought a new queen and summoned the most beautiful women to his palace, including Esther. Before she left, Mordecai warned her, "Do not reveal you are Jewish." Esther promised to keep her identity secret. In the palace, Esther's kindness and grace won everyone's favor, especially Hegai, the king's chief servant. When King Ahasuerus met Esther, he was captivated and chose her as queen, placing the royal crown on her head. Though she now lived in luxury, Esther remained humble and remembered Mordecai's teachings. She kept her Jewish identity hidden, just as Mordecai had advised. Mordecai stayed close, often near the palace gates, watching over Esther from afar. One day, Mordecai overheard two guards plotting against the king. He quickly sent word to Esther, who warned the king. The plot was foiled, and the king's life was saved. Mordecai's deed was recorded in the royal chronicles, though he received no reward. Esther's secret and Mordecai's loyalty would soon become crucial. The stage was set for a story of courage and destiny. Esther's rise to queen was no accident. It was the beginning of something much greater. In the shadows of the palace, danger was brewing. Esther's faith and wisdom would soon be tested. The fate of her people would rest on her shoulders. In the king's court, Haman rose to power, second only to the king. The king ordered all to bow before Haman, but Mordecai refused, honoring only God. Haman's pride turned to fury when he saw Mordecai stand tall. Learning Mordecai was Jewish, Haman's anger grew into hatred for all Jews. Haman devised a plan, not just to punish Mordecai, but to destroy every Jew in Persia. He approached the king, twisting the truth. "There's a people who disobey your laws, let them be destroyed." The king, trusting Haman, handed over his signet ring, sealing the fate of the Jews. Haman wrote a decree on a set day. All Jews, young and old, were to be killed. Messengers spread the law across the empire. Fear and dread swept through the Jewish community. Haman was pleased, but the Jews faced annihilation. The king remained unaware of Esther's heritage. The stage was set for a confrontation between good and evil. Mordecai and Esther would have to act quickly. The fate of a nation hung in the balance. News of the decree shattered the Jewish community in Shushan. Mordecai mourned publicly, wearing sackcloth and ashes. Esther's servants reported his distress, and she sent fresh clothes, but he refused them. Realizing something was terribly wrong, Esther sent Hathach to learn more. Mordecai revealed Haman's plot and gave Hathach a copy of the deadly decree. He urged Esther, "Go to the king, beg for mercy, plead for our people." Esther faced an impossible choice: risk her life or remain silent. The fate of her people rested on her courage. Mordecai's message was clear: action was needed now. Esther's world had changed in an instant. She was the only hope for her people. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her. Esther's next move would determine the future of her nation. Time was running out. Would she find the courage to act? Esther learned of the law and Mordecai's plea. She was terrified. Approaching the king uninvited meant death unless he extended his golden scepter. Esther hadn't been summoned in 30 days. She sent word to Mordecai explaining the risk. If she went to the king, she could die. If she stayed silent, her people would perish. Esther faced an agonizing decision: self-preservation or risking everything for her people. She was just one woman against a powerful enemy. The law was clear and the danger real, but doing nothing would haunt her forever. Esther's heart pounded with fear and uncertainty. The lives of thousands depended on her. Would she choose safety or courage? This was her defining moment. Esther stood at a crossroads. The future of her people was in her hands. She had to decide: act bravely or let fear win. The world waited for her answer. Mordecai's reply was firm. "Don't think you'll escape because you're queen. If you stay silent, help will come from elsewhere, but you and your family will perish." Then he asked, "Who knows if you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther realized her role was no accident. Perhaps she was meant to save her people. Her fear gave way to purpose. She sent word to Mordecai, "Gather all the Jews in Shushan. Fast for me. I and my attendants will fast too." For 3 days they prayed and fasted, seeking strength and guidance. Esther resolved, "I will go to the king, even though it's against the law. If I perish, I perish." She chose faith over fear. Esther was ready to risk everything for her people. Her courage would change history. The time for action had come. Esther's destiny was clear. She would stand for her people no matter the cost. The fate of a nation rested on her bravery. After 3 days, Esther dressed in royal robes and approached the king's inner court. The king saw her, was pleased, and extended the golden scepter. Her life was spared. He asked, "What is your request? Even half the kingdom is yours." Esther, wise and patient, invited the king and Haman to a banquet. At the banquet, the king repeated his question, but Esther invited them to a second banquet the next day. She waited for the perfect moment to reveal the truth. Haman, feeling honored, had no idea he was walking into a trap. Esther's patience and wisdom set the stage for her people's salvation. The king's curiosity grew. Haman's pride blinded him to the danger. Esther's plan was unfolding perfectly. The decisive moment was near. Everything depended on timing. At the first banquet, Esther delayed her request, inviting the king and Haman to another feast. Haman left elated, but his joy vanished when he saw Mordecai refusing to bow. Furious, Haman's family suggested building a gallows for Mordecai. Haman agreed, ordering it built that night. Meanwhile, the king couldn't sleep. He had the royal records read to him and discovered Mordecai had once saved his life. What honor was given to Mordecai? He asked. The answer, nothing. The king realized he owed Mordecai a great reward. God was working behind the scenes. Haman's plans were about to unravel. The stage was set for a dramatic reversal. Esther's patience was about to pay off. The turning point was near. The next morning, Haman arrived to ask for Mordecai's execution, but the king asked him how to honor someone special. Thinking it was for himself, Haman described a lavish honor. The king ordered Haman to bestow it on Mordecai. Humiliated, Haman obeyed. That evening, at Esther's second banquet, the king asked again for her request. Esther revealed the truth. "Spare my life and my people. We have been sold to be destroyed." The king, shocked, demanded, "Who would do this?" Esther pointed, "This wicked Haman!" The king stormed out in anger. Haman begged Esther for mercy. The king returned, saw Haman pleading, and grew even angrier. Servants told the king about the gallows Haman built for Mordecai. The king ordered, "Hang him on it!" Haman was executed on his own gallows. Justice was swift, and Esther's courage was revealed. With Haman gone, Esther and Mordecai still faced the deadly decree. The king gave Mordecai Haman's position and his signet ring. Esther pleaded for her people's lives. The king allowed Mordecai to write a new law. The Jews could defend themselves. The new decree spread across the empire, turning fear into joy. On the appointed day, the Jews triumphed over their enemies. What was meant for destruction became a day of deliverance. Mordecai and Esther established the festival of Purim to celebrate their salvation. Purim became a time of feasting, joy, and giving to the poor. Esther's bravery changed history. Her faith and courage saved a nation. The story of Esther reminds us that one person's courage can change the world. Even in fear, we can choose to do what is right. Esther's legacy endures, inspiring generations. For such a time as this, courage can make all the difference.